What is up, my Forex for Beginners family? Okay, so let's break down the current movement of AUD USD and what were some potential trades. So right now we're looking at the daily chart. I just wanted to point out this trend line, this blue trend line. We drew this trend line based on this wick touch here. We touched this wick right there, and then we just kind of found the average from here, here, and here. So basically we had three touches here, here, and here, and then we didn't know about this, but all we knew was price was approaching our trend line. So how do we trade a trend line? Let's examine it. Okay, so I'm going to jump to the 4-hour chart, and I'm going to try a feature with you guys that I'm doing for the first time, and you can learn how to do it too. So up here, if you click on replay, then you'll have this little red line, and if wherever you click with your left mouse button, it'll erase all the other previous candles to that. So 1 second, or just watch what happens here. So let's say here. So see, it hid all the candles that have already appeared in real time. It just deleted them, and we can do some strategy testing or just look back on how we could have traded this event. So we know price was approaching our blue trend line. We were expecting some sort of rejection because this has been a strong rejection trend line in the past. So all we're doing is watching it, right? And then it made a, let's just call it a high, right? It was actually a higher high, but we'll just call it a high. And the next thing I try to do is I try to see if there's any sort of trend line I can find here. Let's see if there's any trend line. So just kind of spread your chart like this. I use the wheel mouse and then kind of adjust the height. Let's see if I can find a trend line. So I'm maybe going to start from this this little wick right here, and then just stretch it out like this. And then my eyes are looking right here. So my eyes are looking at this wick right here, and I'm trying to find the average between these two candles. So I'm thinking this wick and maybe the edge of this candle, which is where the body of this candle starts. I'm looking at that. So then I just adjust this, and I'm gonna leave it, actually hold on, right there, and then adjust down here a little bit. I'm going to leave it there for now. So I'm just trying to find a trend line. So here, how we use the replay feature is you can adjust the speed, and then when you hit play, it'll start showing you the candle. So 1 second, let me try it. So one other thing is I want you guys to get in the habit of marking. So this high here, or higher high, mark where the wick is, because that's actually the higher high, or the highest point right now. And then draw a straight line. And you can make sure this line is straight. So I'm using this trend line tool to make a horizontal line, But to make sure it's straight, see my cursor? See my cursor that I'm moving around? See this dotted line? This dotted line here. Now we're looking at my cursor. See the little ball in the center? This dotted line that I'm moving along. This will always be a straight line. So when you're using this tool, you can when the dotted line is in line with your green line or whatever line color you're using, right now you can tell, see how everything's in line? That means I have a straight line. So get used to using these what I call these green lines I'm drawing here, your random lines. So when you notice things on your chart, draw a random line like this. So right here I'm marking this is the highest point. And then I also marked, somewhat of a trend line. And you'll adjust your trend line as new bars appear. So let's just continue. So I'm going to hit play here and watch what happens. Forms another candle. So at this point here, you could have been like, okay, there was a reaction to my trend line. So what I'd actually do is adjust my trend line a little bit. And I'm gonna see if weak magnet, you can turn on weak magnet, and that helps. It kind of jumps to these points. See how it kind of is jumping right now? So you can try to use that to find your trend line, or you can shut it off. You'll just have to try it and you'll get what I mean. So right about, I want to incorporate that little wick touch. So I have a touch there, kind of touch here, and a touch right there. So just keep adjusting your trend line when you get new data, right? That's all I'm trying to tell you. Okay, so now we're going to continue. I'm going to hit play. So you can see that you could even draw a random line, right? Hold on, I'm going to turn off my weak magnet because it was jumping around and I don't want it to jump around. So right here, I'm just going to draw a, just note that this was a low point. Now let's continue. Okay, so we got a rejection off the trend line. So I'm looking for a possible retest. So right now here I paused it. So, we're getting pretty close to this trend line. I'm going to make a note of this level. So this was the highest point. This was the highest point right now. We're actually made a lower high. So this is actually a lower high, right? Because it's lower than this point. See, that's why I drew this random line here. That is the highest point. Now this is actually at a lower high point. So this is a lower high, and we just printed a bearish engulfing candle. Bearish engulfing. So one trade you could have done is we could have sold off of this bearish engulfing because, I was expecting a rejection here. We got rejected. We came back up and we're retesting this level. This could have been one trade. You could have put a stop loss about here, so higher than the highest high, and we got a bearish engulfing. You could have sold here. Let's pull out Fibs. Let's see what Fibs is showing us. So let's go from wick to wick this time. So what else we're seeing here is we came up to my sweet spot area, anywhere in between here. Remember, 78.6 and 61.8. and we're forming a bearish engulfing. So I'm just going to delete this guy to clear it up a bit. So here we formed a bearish engulfing where looks like we're exiting out of this 61.8, but we haven't broke this trend line yet. So you could have, if you wanted to, you could have placed a trade here, and based on this bearish engulfing and the retest of this level and this being a lower high, you could have entered the trade and possibly, you know, this is TP1, take profit 2 and take profit 3. You know, this could have been one trade. But say you didn't take that trade because, you know, say you think it hasn't broken this trend line, so we didn't have to take that trade. So let's just continue and see what happens. Let's get rid of this Fibs. So you can be like, oh, okay, yeah, the bearish engulfing was correct. And then look, 1 second here. Look, we came down to this, see where this wick is? So we actually made a lower low. So I want you to, whenever, see how it started here, even though it hasn't broke this trend line, always be thinking, has the downtrend started? So yes, we're making an uptrend, but this could be the start of a new downtrend. So keep that in mind. So is this a downtrend starting? So let's just label this as, so say if this was a downtrend, so start of it, so this would be a lower low. We printed a lower high. This is a lower high. And then look at this. We just made a lower low. So let me copy this, Control C and Control V to paste it. We made a lower low. So say we weren't in a trade yet and, you know, we missed this opportunity, no big deal. Just still watch. It could, you know, fly up out here. We don't know yet, right? We're not trying to predict anything. We're just trying to see what the market is showing us. What we could have also done is jump to the 1 hour chart. So let's jump to the 1 hour chart and examine what we can see so far. So you can see that the trend line broke here. Also, you can call this where the structure broke right here. So because we made a higher high, a lower high, a higher high, and then we tried to go a little higher, but I'm just going to call this the break of structure and also a trend line break area. So let's just note that. Break of structure. Also, let's call it's a trend line break. We'll just put it for short, break of structure. So you could see that it's went from a high to a lower low. It made a lower high. So this is a lower high than this high. So we're still technically in the definition of a downtrend because we made a lower low, a lower high. And then we broke structure here. So that's telling you, yes, the trend has changed, because anytime there's a break of structure and a trend line break, that means the direction is changing. So that's telling us there's momentum downwards. And then we printed an actual lower low. So it's looking like a downtrend to me. But then we came all the way back up to here. So let's just continue and examine. So we're not, say we missed this trade over here, we're just examining. Continue to examine, see what's going on. Just know that we've broken structure, we made a lower low, and let's see what's happening over here. So I'm going to hit play. Okay, so here you can see that we look at the high so far. The high here is here. So we actually, when you compare this high to this guy here, we actually made another lower high. So this is the high, and this is still a lower high. Yes, it went higher than this, but now we're back to wondering, is it going to go above this trend line, or is it going to get rejected? Well, it just printed a, one second here, it just printed a big bearish candle, and we did not go as high as the previous high. So this is a good sign of another rejection, and this can actually be considered a double top, because this, let's just move this line over. Look at that. See how it lines up with this wick right here? I would have considered this the actual double top. So here and here, that line, let me delete this line. I would call that the double top. Let's just call it DT, double top. And then we could have been looking for a sell here. Like after this candle, we could have just placed a sell right here, based on the fact that it's a bearish engulfing. It's a double top. We've had a break in structure. We made a lower low. We did not go to 100% retrace. We actually made a lower high compared to this one. So there was good reason for me to place a sell here. So after this candle closed, this bearish engulfing, let's just place a sell here. This is what I actually did. So I placed a sell here and exited here, but I also placed a sell here. So let's see what happens. I'm just going to put it over here, but I placed a sell after this bearish engulfing, and we were at a lower high point. And also I would have considered this a double top. So I had good reason to sell here. So let's hit play here. Let it continue. Right, and our stop loss would have been obviously, let me talk about our stop loss really quick. Our stop loss would have been about here. So I would have made it higher than this high over here to the left. I would have put our stop loss just above this high. And let me delete this line, and let's hit play again. And price continued down pretty quickly. And let me try to run some fibs. So I can run fibs from here to here, just to give us some targets. So we could close that trade at 100%, or right now, who knows? Right now maybe it's going to come back and retest this level. It actually did retest this level and got hammered back down. And now it's retesting this level again. So you can see that it tried to get above 38.2. It managed to. We could look on the 4-hour charts. Let's pause here. Let's see what it looks like on the 4-hour chart. So you can see that it basically came up, retested this weekly level, and then got hammered down really hard. So, and it didn't surpass 61.8. So I would have still been in my sell right now. So there's no reason to exit. So it was making a lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. So there's no reason to exit our trade yet. Let me go back to the 1 hour. And let me hit play again. We just printed another lower low. Lower low. We hit take profit 2. So we could have exited the trade here. Yeah, so if you didn't want to be greedy, we could have exited the trade right here. TP2. TP2. And let me turn off, I think it's done now. Let me turn off the replay. Yeah, so we're live now. And we hit TP2. You could, you know, let me delete this, clear up my chart a bit. And let's just run some fibs as well. And so, you know, we go from here down to, so you can either go wick to wick or body to body. Play around with them both. So here I'm going, see how this, I went from the body to the body and then looked at the measurement, and then you can also go to from wick to wick. See how I just went to the wick here? So either way, people practice both of them. Just see what works on the chart, right? We're not gonna sell because of Fibonacci. Fibonacci is one reason, right? We look for multiple reasons, like we did up here. We had multiple reasons to sell, and so just by drawing fibs, you can see, like, we went to 38.2 and we had a bearish engulfing and we got hammered down, right? I like to go from base to base right now. But anyways, we hit take profit 2. You can also draw a trend line here maybe. You know, it may be about to break this trend line, but we could have, if we don't want to be greedy, we could have just took profit at take profit 2. That's basically how you trade a rejection zone or a trend line rejection. You know, we always want to not guess this part, but wait for a retest. And we had one retest here, and I sold and I closed here. And this, why I closed here, because if we stretch this guy here, you can see that this was the next level. So I sold off of here. I sold from here off this bearish engulfing, closed here, and then we got this double top. I saw a bearish engulfing, I sold here, and I took profit around this area. And basically that's all you got to practice. You know, draw these trend lines, because look, see how this trend line from based on, you know, this trend line based on this point and this point, it helped me, you know, look, you know, it gave me information on where structure might break, and you know, maybe it came close to this area here. You know, sometimes, you know, when I afterwards, you can touch it here, and you know, you can always adjust, keep adjusting your trend lines, because whenever I see a trend line cutting through here, I always look to see if it's going to touch here. And in this case, I would have adjusted it slightly, just because you can see it touching here, you can see it touching perfectly here, and just stuff like that. So this this little video went longer than I expected, but I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.